من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأنجبين بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توابا وتمتعه فيها طويلا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Returning to our talk, and that is the Wasiyyat of Amirulmomineen Ali alayhi salatu wassalam. Imam, he mentioned and talked about the different dimensions and the commands that he has given to the heart, and we talked briefly about it. And today he says وَعْرِضْ عَلَيْهِ أَخْبَارَ الْمَاضِينَ وَذَكِّرْهُ بِمَا أَصَابَ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكَ مِنَ الْأَوَّلِينَ. Says that to your heart, now after giving those different commands, that you need to enlighten your heart, you need to kill your heart, you need to strengthen your heart, and you need to make your heart strong. So after all that, now he says وَعْرِضْ عَلَيْهِ أَخْبَارَ الْمَاضِينَ, that is, present what passed on to the bygones to your heart and remind it of their sufferings. All that everyone else went through during their life, show that to your heart. Let your heart be familiar with the past of those who were living. And then he says, وَسِّرْ فِي دِيَارِهِمْ, then you travel to their cities. وَاعْتَبِرْ آثَارَهُمْ, and then you learn from their signs, whatever they have left behind. وَانْظُرْ مَا فَعَلُوا, see what they did. وَأَيْنَ حَلُّوا وَنَزَلُوا, and what they acquired and where they settled. وَنَزَلُوا, and where ultimately they went. وَعَمَّنْ انْتَقَلُوا, and unto whom they have departed. He then says فَإِنَّكَ تَجِدُهُمْ قَدْ انْتَقَلُوا عَنِ الْأَحِبَّةِ. Hassan, you will see them, they have all separated from their loved ones and have taken refuge in the land of loneliness. وَحَلُّوا دَارَ الْغُرْبَةِ, Dar al-Ghurba is the land of loneliness, that is the grave. وَكَأَنَّكَ عَنْ قَلِيلٍ قَدْ سِرْتَ كَأَحَدِهِمْ, and Hassan, very soon you will be also one of them. You will see and you'll find that you are one of them. فَاسْلَحْ مَثْوَاكَ, then he says, for that reason you need to improve your residence. Maswa, it means the home, the residence. This dunya is not the residence. Whenever you find the term dar in Quran, it means the house, the home. Quran recognizes the akhirah as the dar. This dunya is not dar. This dunya has been mentioned as a transit area, as a bypass, as a corridor. You've come here and to leave. Says that Hassan, faslah maswak, that is, you need to correct and to improve your residence, that is your home, the shelter. وَلَا تَبِعَ آخِرَتَكَ بِدُنْيَاكَ, and do not sell your hereafter to this world. It was mentioned the other day that the price tag that Allah has placed on every single human being, it's the heaven, it's the Jannah. Assuming that the price, just to understand, if the price of the heaven is, for example, $1,000 trillion, so Allah says the price that I've placed, the tag that I've placed on this one human being is also that $1,000 trillion. The same price the heaven has is the price of this man. So whatever I do, good or bad, for example, if I do, that price tag is going to be a price slash. As a result of the wrong that I will be doing, I am depreciating my value lowering my value from that original price that Allah had set. So Imam says that Hassan, that do not sell your akhirah for this dunya. So that is, we have to be very cautious. Now when Imam is talking to another Imam, that is a ma'soom to a ma'soom, then we have to learn a lot. Now undoubtedly the history of the ancients and the people of the past, it is a torch, a beacon for the future for every one of us. And what makes this possible is that the message of history is received and reflected in the heart. That I study, that I go and see my ancestors' homes. They also came, they also lived, they also departed, they left. So we'll come to this point where Imam gives furthermore commands and instructions as to what you should be doing. So tell the story of the ancients and the people of the past to your heart. So you need to talk to the heart, present everything before the heart, that they also had an honorable life, but fell into humiliation and suffered a bad end. There were many who achieved the highest degrees of perfection. Due to obedience, they sought nearness to God. They also have come to an end. They don't exist anymore. Therefore, one should study the work and the deeds and the actions of the past and see what makes people and how they lived in this world. And what causes people to be humiliated is that also has to be understood and seen. What are the reasons? What are the flaws that were there in them that made them be disgraced? Here we'll come to know, as it was mentioned repeatedly, that in honor and grace and dignity that is given is in obedience to Allah. Anything beyond those parameters of obedience will bring about disgrace and humiliation. So, as a result, people, they have to avoid also what causes misery, and in a word, he learns lessons from the past, as the Quran also has repeatedly mentioned to us this important point that قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الْمُجْرِمِينَ. You travel over the land, سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, in the land you travel and observe what the fate of the guilty was. So we see there are ups and downs in our lives. Now there are ups and downs in everyone's life. It isn't as such that a person, he spends his whole life, and throughout his life with illnesses and misery he's going to end the entire life. That is not the case. There are ups and downs for a certain duration, and then everything becomes normal. If someone is well off, it isn't as such that he doesn't have any problems whatsoever. They also are well off. There's a phase in their life, they go through turbulence, and then it's back again. So whatever we see in this dunya, the joys, they are short-lived, they are temporary. Even the sorrows that we have, they are short-lived and they are short-termed and they are temporary. So everything will come to an end. If Allah has given all the joy and success to someone in this temporary life, it shouldn't make him proud. Nor that all these failures that they see, or there is lack of success in this world, so that also shouldn't take them into despair and lose hope. So the joys also shouldn't make us proud. And also the problems that we see and face, they also shouldn't make us lose hope and be in despair. So therefore, what do? One should not be proud of the joys of this temporary success and success of this world, because many people, they lived before us, they had more blessings than what we have. They had more successes than what we are seeing. But the blessing and the successes, they did not remain. Neither that success remained, nor did they remain. The same applies to us. Whatever we are, whatever is given to us, the joys and the sorrow, they will come to an end. Therefore, there are lows and highs in everyone's lives. There are ups and downs. There is hard and brutal, and there are difficulties that we face. There is humiliation. There is honor. There is fall. Everything is there in a life, and all of that will come to an end. But if he looks into this entire living and that program that Allah has made, he thinks it positively, looks into it positively, and then from that program he makes his akhirah. He builds his akhirah. That is, if there are problems, they will not continue forever, for a short term. If that last ayah of Surah Baqarah, it was mentioned the other day, that is, Allah, you don't test us. That is, you don't test us or try us with all those difficult tests and exams. And then وَلَا تُحَمِّلْنَا مَا لَا طَاقَةَ لَنَا, that what is not in our capacity and that what we cannot handle, don't burden that on us. And He also will not burden that on you. He will not test anyone beyond his capacity. Now, Allah says, فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا in Surah Al-Inshirah. Twice He repeats that. That is, indeed, ease, it accompanies hardship. And then again He says, إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا, that ease, it accompanies hardship. It isn't as such that you're going to have an ease all the way throughout your life without any hardship, without any difficulty. Hardship will be given, ease also will be given. We have a hadith, inshallah we'll come to that point when I come there, which says that all these difficulties and ease and hardships that we have, Allah, He gives, and Allah, He takes. To some He gives as a test, to some He gives for a promotion and elevation in the higher ranks and getting higher ranks. Says to Mu'mineen, He tests them so that they are forgiven in all those difficulties and hardship. For the awliyaullah, He tests them with all these difficult tests, that is, to get them and give them higher and higher ranks and promotions in the akhirah. Now, that what Imam over here in this part of the advice and wasiyyah, he is telling us that the bygones, that is the past, the marhumeen, all those who are living before us, they are a torch for our future. When we study into their lives and pay attention to their works, history of the past, it is one of the best of ways to learn a lesson. So studying and knowing the historical details has a great effect on human soul. Now the first result that we see, it is upon our own soul. We realize that the joys and the sorrows that they went through, or the joys and the sorrows that we have, or the kingdoms they had, the governments they had, the palaces they built, they are all destroyed now and nothing has remained. Neither the palaces have remained, nor their governments and their rules have remained, nor they themselves who owned all those estates and landmarks have they remained. So that is a lesson. And then, for example, consider these pyramids that are made in Egypt, which are among the wonders of the world, wonders of the science, that with all that progress and advancement, man, even today, they haven't come to understand and discover how could they make such a monument. And how was it possible for them to take all those big boulders, rocks, and cut them into those sizes and take them high up there? So what tools did they have? What mechanism they used? So all that, it remains a mystery and we don't know. It's been undiscovered. So in any case, whether the powers that built the palaces in the heart of mountains or brought these sciences and industries to their peak, whatever it was, the basic needs they had for the life, they also had, we also have, they also are gone, soon we also will be gone. Now that the dead have died, after their short and long life, will you and I remain? This is why Amirulmomineen brings us and makes us reflect onto it. That are we different to those people? Are we different to those creation who were before us? Or are we going to have an eternal life that they could not have an eternal life? We are also the same. We are going through the same channel, the same path, and soon we also will be past history, and there's going to be another generation who will continue after us. So that is this beautiful wasiyyah that Amirulmomineen reminds constantly and brings us towards understanding and knowing the akhirah. Now comparing this life with another life, and then that is eternal, it cannot be destroyed. Now when we talk about the akhirah, Quran, when it mentions the punishment to the wrongdoers that will be given to them in the hellfire, now in this dunya, the simple burns that we get and we destroy, and then that's it. Maybe that burn and that wound that we have, it recovers. In the akhirah, where he says that it's going to be an eternal life, a life which will never end, Quran says, كُلَّمَا نَضِجَتْ جُلُودُهُمْ بَدَّلْنَاهُمْ جُلُودًا غَيْرَهَا لِيَذُوقُوا الْعَذَابَ, says that as often as their skins it will be changed and scorched, we shall replace it with another skin, so that they burn and they taste the punishment. Now this will continue over and over again until ever, forever. So here in this dunya, that burn, it was treated, and after a few days it was healed. In the akhirah, no, it's going to be an eternal process. It will continue and continue forever. And then he says, innakum makisun, this will stay on, this will continue to be like that forever. Now, which world are we talking about? We said that it is important for man to compare the world with the hereafter and see how they relate to one another, to each other. Is it worth giving away the happiness of the hereafter for the sake of the pleasures of this world? Assuming that the kingdom of the pharaohs who existed is achieved by us, and we can build such pyramids like what they built, or a kingdom like they had, like the kingdom of Harun al-Rashid, and we also were provided with all that what they were provided. Or the property of Qarun, the belongings of Qarun. Qarun, he had so much. He is the first cousin of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, and also his brother-in-law, and he is someone who stood against Prophet Musa when the command of zakat came. And Prophet Musa says that everyone has to pay zakat. He says, I'm not going to pay zakat. And he stood against him, and he, with all that wealth that he had, the richest person on earth. Quran says regarding the treasures and the wealth that Qarun had, إِنَّ مَفَاتِحَهُ لَتَنُوا بِالْعُصْبَةِ أُولِي الْقُوَّةِ. It means that he had so much treasure, so much of gold and silver, so much of wealth he had, that it was difficult for a strong team to carry the keys of those treasures. So the keys of those treasures, it was a big task just to carry them and move around. Now how much of a treasure he had, Allahu A'lam. Now with all that treasure that he had, he also did not remain, he also went. Quran says, with reference to the Akhirah, فَلَا تَعْلَمُ نَفْسٌ مَا أُخْفِيَ لَهُم مِّن قُرَّةِ أَعْيُنٍ. No soul knows what Allah has hidden for them, what delight is there hidden for them in the hereafter, as a reward for what you have done here in this world, that He will pay you back. That we don't know. So when we have an abad, which is forever in future, which is fast approaching, and we have a life here which is short-lived, and no one lived here. The best of people, they also passed away. The worst of the human beings, they also departed. The richest, they also went away. The poorest also, they also went away. So are we going to remain? Imam says, أَعْرِضْ عَلَيْهِ أَخْبَارَ الْمَاضِينَ. Present the news of the past to your heart. ذَكِّرْهُ بِمَا أَصَابَ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكَ مِنَ الْأَوَّلِينَ. There you remind your heart, ذَكِّرْهُ, remind your بِمَا أَصَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ, that what had happened unfolded upon those who were before you, your predecessors. Talk to them about them as well. History one should read. Now, for example, this Bani Umayyah, they also had a height, they also had a rule. Where in Quran we say, Laylatul Qadri khayrun min alfi shahr, says alfi shahr, 1,000 months is Laylatul Qadr. The rule of Bani Umayyah also was 1,000 months. That is, they ruled for 84 years, and such devastation and such havoc they created, how much they invested to derail and to change the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. One should read their history. Now the killers, they were all killed. They are different. And how this Bani Umayyah that it was disgraced, that has to be seen in history. Now in the Battle of Karbala, those who abandoned water from Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, they died of thirst. Those who took away the shirt of Abu Abdullah were afflicted with all kinds of diseases. He who cut off the hand of Abul Fazl al-Abbas, his face turned dark. And Umar as-Sa'd, his head on the javelin was pounded with stones. This is what they saw, what all these oppressors, these Zalimeen did to the Ahlul Bayt, they saw that. Now the descendants of Bani Umayyah, now they were not there in Karbala. The descendants of Bani Umayyah, Ibn Asir, this Sunni historian, he writes that they were deserted in the deserts of Africa. Now these people who were living and dwelling in riches and all those high class blessings they were blessed with, they ate dirt, they ate mud, leaves in the sinking sands of Africa, and many of them perished alive. Now two of the sons of the Khalifa, the last Khalifa, Abdullah bin Marwan Himar, the two sons are Muhammad bin Marwan Himar and Abdullah, these two brothers. These two brothers are Marwan Himar is the last Khalifa of the Bani Umayyah. They fled to Africa, clothes torn, lips parched, and thirsty and hungry, burnt faces. The king of Africa, the king of Noba, he was informed of the arrival of these two princes who were the last Khalifa in Sham. They have come here. He says, host them for 3 days, and after on the third day he comes to meet them. Says, feed them, clothe them, look after them. Now he says them, when he comes to see and asks them, he knew a little bit about Islam, now the king of Noba. He asks them, says that, tell me about your Khilafah, what happened, the last Khalifa in Sham, who was overthrown, why? He says that, let me ask you, in your religion, do you drink? Is there wine? He says, now the two princes, they say, drinking is not allowed in our religion, but we used to drink. Then he says, what about silk? Says, silk is not allowed on men, but we used to wear. Says it's haram on men, but we used to wear them. What about zulm, oppression? Says, not allowed, but we used to oppress. And then he says that, did you oppress? Yes, we did. Manslaughter? Yes, we killed. He inquired every bit after that what he knew about Islam, he inquired, and then finally said, the reason for your decline and fall was that you did not abide by the teachings of your religion, as a result of which you were disgraced. And then he says, I fear that your staying over here in this my kingdom is going to invite the rage of God, and my people will suffer because of your presence. So I want you to leave this land immediately. Now this Bani Umayyah, the descendants, they were killed by Mansur the Waniqi. Now this is as a result of ضُرِبَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الذِّلَّةُ وَالْمَسْكَنَةُ, that how they were disgraced. So with all those riches, this is what we learn from history, that ultimately they were ruined, and their generations, their descendants, they also were disgraced. That is what we see. In Manazilul Akhirah, we've got this ayah in Quran which says, Inna rabbaka labil mirsad. Inna rabbaka labil mirsad. That is, the deceased, they say that do something, we can't, at least we can't do anything, at least you can, you are still living, you can send something to us. So Inna rabbaka labil mirsad means that your Lord is on the watch out, your Lord is on the hideout. Mirsad, when Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam was inquired what mirsad means, he says that on the Sirat there is an offshoot bridge, or there is an exit, there is an offshoot bridge on the Sirat. Says innaka labil mirsad qala al mirsad qantaratun ala sirat la yajuzu abdun bimadlamatin. Says on the Sirat there is an offshoot bridge, it's called mirsad, and whoever has any mazlama on him, mazlama means anything he owes to anyone, anything he owes in monetary funds to anyone, or he has done that to someone and that person, he hasn't forgiven him, so he's got a burden on him. Says as long as that mazlama is removed, until it is removed, you won't be able to pass from that mirsad. So to get that removed, you need the contentment and the rida of the owner of that mazlama, owner of the value of that thing that you own to that person. You need to get his rizayat, his contentment. He has to be happy with you. Or if someone has harmed anyone in words or in action, or has damaged them or their body or their possessions, that needs to be given back. Until that damage is repaired and corrected, a person, he will be detained on that mirsad. Says that so many people were there. They also came to this dunya, they also departed, and nothing has remained from them. Now when we look back into the history of Karbala, and when the noble caravan of Abu Abdullah's family was moving from Karbala and then to Kufa and then to Sham, and there Hazrat Zainab Salamullah alayha, she was delivering all those sermons, such ferocious sermons, and in the masjid of Kufa when she was delivering that sermon, after her sermon, she recited an ayah. She said, Ala sa'a ma qaddamtum anfusukum. You did bad. People of Kufa, you did bad. This shame of killing Hussein is a bad mark in your report. And then she recited this ayah, Fabku kathiran wadhaku qalila. That is, cry a lot, laugh little. So when this khutbah of Hazrat Zainab ended in that masjid Kufa, a man, he stood amidst the crowd and he said, may my parents be sacrificed unto you. The old among you are the best of the old. The women among you are the best of women. Kuhulukum khairul kuhul, nisa'ukum khairun nisa', shababukum khairul shabab, naslukum khairan nasl. The youth among you are the best of the youth. Your generation, your descendants are the best. And he started hitting himself. Tabari, the historian, he says Kufa never witnessed such scenes before. The entire Kufa was in mourning and in weeping. Now this is the point that I wanted to mention over here. Marjana, the mother of Ibn Ziyad, she says that la'nat of God be on you to her son, and says ayyuhal khabith. Ayyuhal khabith means oh khabith, oh bad, oh evil. Curses of God be upon you. I wish that you never smell that the fragrance of the heaven. The mother of Marjana saying to her son. Now then, Ibn Ziyad's brother, he also stands and says, I wish I was not tagged with this disgrace of being Ibn Ziyad's brother. So this unfolded very soon, immediately after Karbala, just in few days. So that disgrace came to them. The effects of the khutbah of Hazrat Zainab. Now here Yazid's daughter Atika, she saw that Yazid was disrespecting the head of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein with that stick and pouring the remaining wine in his cup on the pure head. She picked up the head, washed it, cleaned it, fragranced it, and said this head is to be respected and placed in somewhere honorable, not that you disrespect. So all these changes that took place there, that all those riches, the kings and the queens and the princesses and all those riches they had, the height they had in this world, all of that is gone. And then when you look into this, the Wasiyyat of Amirulmomineen, Imam says, Sir fi diyarihim, you go and travel and see how they lived. If you get an opportunity, when you go to Sham, inshallah, there in that in that masjid of Sham, which used to be the palace of Yazid, La'natullah alayh, everything, when you go there, you still feel the pain over there, where the head of Abu Abdullah was placed, where the Usara were, where the captives were kept together, were handcuffed. All of that, when you enter that place, it's such heavy, the atmosphere of that place, as if everything is evident there. So all these rulers, all that zulm, all that oppression, they came, they did, they went. Ultimately, they're all gone. Imam says, go see these places and then learn lessons from these sites and these historical places, and see what they have left behind and where they are now and where have they ended and where they have embarked to. Sir fi diyarihim wa'tabir atharahum wanzur ma fa'alu ayna hallu wa nazalu wa amman intaqalu. So beautiful commands that here Amirulmomineen gives. Or for example, when you look into the history here, Rasulullah, in one of these riwayat, he says to the angel of death that you've taken these millions and millions of souls till now. Is there on any occasion, did you regret? Were you sorry? Here Jibreel, the angel of death, he says, yes, Ya Rasulullah, on 2 occasions I felt sorry, taking the soul and killing. Says that was one occasion that the boat, it sank, and everyone on board, they got drowned. A woman, she was pregnant, and she got saved by these planks that were destroyed. From the boat, she got delivered by the seashore. So she was safe, and she delivered the baby by the seashore. And then Allah sent me to go and kill the mother. I went and I killed the mother as I was instructed. Says that was very painful for me to see that infant just being delivered and the mother is being killed. I have to kill the mother. She gave birth to a boy, and I was instructed to kill the woman, and I was sorry for that baby. Now, then when Shaddad, son of Aad, he spent years building his elegant palace. He invested so much of his wealth in making the splendor, the charm, the beauty, the magnificence of his palace. Now, the historians, they say that the columns of that palace, the pillars, they were all made with gold and ornaments, rich stones. Says when the palace was complete, and Shaddad, he came to see the gardens of that palace, and he wanted to enter to see his magnificent home. He was on the horse. He came and he removed his foot from the stirrup. His left foot was in the stirrup, and he wanted to come down from that horse to come to see the palace. Allah instructed me to go and kill Shaddad. I came there and I killed him. So he was halfway getting down that horse to come down to see his palace, that investment of his that he spent his entire life and all the wealth to build it, and he could not see it. Says that I was sorry on that occasion as well. So that unfortunate person, he got stuck between the saddle and the earth, and he died. So Malakul Maut says that I felt sorry on these 2 occasions, that he spent all his life and hoping to see the garden, and he was caught by death. Now that very moment, Jibreel, he comes to the Prophet and said, the Almighty has sent salam to you. I swear by my dignity, my might, Shaddad, son of Aad, is the very child of that woman who delivered that baby by the seashore. says Allah, He cared for that baby, that infant. Without the mother, He raised, He provided, He nourished, He nurtured, and then he stood against God. So Allah was kind to him, but he was ungrateful to all my favors. He was arrogant, he was self-centered, he was proud, and this is how Allah, He punished him. So all these are lessons that we learn from history. And then Imam says, وَلَا تَبِعْ آخِرَتَكَ بِدُنْيَاكَ فَاصْلِحْ مَثْوَاكَ. That is, don't sell your akhirah towards your dunya, for this dunya. فَاصْلِحْ مَثْوَاكَ. You correct your hereafter, your akhirah. So again, very briefly, Imam says, أَحْيِي قَلْبَكَ بِالْمَوْعِظَةِ. That is, you enliven your heart with advice, kill it with piety, strengthen it with yaqeen, with certainty, and then you enlighten your heart with hikmah, with wisdom. You tame your heart by reminding it of death, and then you teach your heart that it's going to depart, it's a short term lived over here in this world, and then you teach and your heart and strengthen the fear in your heart, and then you clothe your heart with sabr, with patience. You cover it with patience, and then you teach your heart, show your heart all these ups and downs of the world and how everything happens in this world, and these days and nights passing by, and what ends up and how you end up. Beautiful teachings, beautiful sayings of Amirulmomineen Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, which are a guide to every one of us. May Allah tabarak wa ta'ala never distance us from Quran and from Ahlul Bayt. May that be here or in the hereafter. وَسُبْحَانَ رَبِّكَ رَبِّ الْعِزَّةِ عَمَّا يَصِفُونَ وَسَلَامٌ عَلَى الْمُرْسَلِينَ وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.